Welcome back to Faire Life. I'm Andrew McKee, and yes, I was playing my recorder because, well, that's what you do when it's when it's a festive time. Music is all around us, and what can you say? It's that time of year because you cannot go anywhere without hearing some holiday music. To be sure, it is. Oh, very, very true. Very. Very true. So, yes, hello, everyone. Hey, Jan and Kevin and Janine and Kathy. Great to see you. And Dan, hey. Wonderful. I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to Alicia, who's not here with us this evening because it is her birthday. So happy birthday to Alicia. And I gave her a much-deserved night off and said, hey, yeah, no worries. So I don't think she's going to be here because she's going out and doing party stuff. So a very good excuse, very reasonable. Happy holidays, Sarit. Yeah, excellent. Great to see you. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed a little musical intro with the recorder. And of course, Chris Dobie, who always says, you know, hey, you're going to play music. I don't think she was here to hear that. So she'll have to check it out later on the repeat. But that's how it works. Anyway, yes, it has been a crazy time now that there are... I'm sure she thanks you for that, Susan. Very sweet of you. Yeah, a crazy time because I have no Faire map to show tonight because there are no fairs going on in the country, in the United States, at the very least. Not a one. So a very strange time of year when there is nothing going on that way. And we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago where I'm surprised nobody's put together a strictly Christmas-themed or holiday-themed or winter-themed fair going on in late December, early January, just to kind of throw something in there, whether it's a Yule time, and it's heavily Viking-themed, or maybe a little bit generic and fantasy where you throw in a little Dickens and a little Renaissance and have fun with it. I mean, just so many possibilities. I'm really surprised nobody's really done that, at least not anything strictly that. I think there are some events that do more local that will do some holiday-themed festivals, but they're not strictly Renaissance festivals. So, you do what you can, I guess. I guess you do what you can. But anyway, yeah, it is, like I said, been a very, very crazy time. Finished up with Louisiana Faire and made it back 6 weekends in Louisiana. And yeah, it is the end of the season is a very odd time for performers because it's certainly, you have that end of year thing where it's a time of reflection, where you think about all the things you need to do and things you should have done and things you want to do next year in your personal life. But with us, there's a lot of professional stuff that goes on. We're so busy throughout the year. This is kind of our off time when we can actually get a few things done. A lot of our booking happens around this time. We do a lot of our fall booking right around now and start that process going for next year. Next summer and next fall, this is when that process goes. So for performers, it's a busy time. It really is. There was even one time I did not go to my parents for Christmas and stayed and worked right through Christmas. I've only done it once, but it was they were really nice about it because I needed to do it. But I know this sounds like the plot point of a of a movie on the Hallmark Channel, but no. I mean, it just I worked through and I got a lot done, and believe it or not, that's when I first started learning how to be a sound engineer. I took the time and worked on that for 2 straight weeks, working on recording. So yeah, I mean, it can be a very profitable, rewarding time for the off time. But it's always bittersweet because you're kind of away from it. And while you need the break, it's a little weird. It's definitely strange. So I know some of you understand that. But yeah, it has been a lot of weird things in the news. I mean, going on. I noticed today that the Tolkien estate and Amazon won a court case for copyright on Lord of the Rings. I mean, that was kind of weird. An author who wrote his own Lord of the Rings book as sort of a sequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. When Amazon made their TV show, he sued them for copyright infringement. His name is Demetrius Polychron, and in the original filing, he claimed that the Prime Video show had lifted from his sequel and infringed on the copyright of his work, when they were the only ones who had the right to actually use that work. I mean, to use the original work. So, yeah, it's really stretching fair use just a little bit. I think, the judge dismissed it, and that's all done. He has to pay the court fees for Tolkien and Amazon. But I see both sides. I mean, I do believe in fair use, but it's really strange. Next year is going to be really odd because it's the first year Mickey Mouse starts to become public domain. They fought that for so many decades, extended copyright, lobbied Congress, Disney doing that, and it's finally over, where that the original appearance of Mickey Mouse, was it Steamboat Willie, will be in the public domain. Of course, later incarnations, not there yet, but that original version, public domain. So you're going to see a lot of new T-shirts and things coming out, but it is a crazy, crazy time for that. But yeah, not true for Christmas music. I know all of you have been inundated with all of these Christmas songs left and right, anywhere you go. Yeah, it sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, and sometimes too much. I will definitely agree with that. But yeah, we've got a bit of a wait until more Christmas songs become public domain. There's a surprisingly large number of Christmas songs that are public domain, possibly even more than you think. A lot of them were written in the 1800s or early 1900s, but songs like God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, Good King Wenceslas, even Jingle Bells is public domain. Joy to the World, A Little Town of Bethlehem, Silent Night, The First Noel, The 12 Days of Christmas. I mean, you hear that everywhere. And my personal favorite, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. But yes, all of those are copyright. And you've heard most of them at the very least. And the reason why is because they're public domain, so anybody can record them and perform them. So you end up hearing those a whole lot. Yeah, Disney does have a lot of trademark protections on Mickey. You are not wrong, but there's always routes. I mean, they can only do so much at this point. Once you start letting the cat out of the bag, it gets rough. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Definitely interesting. Yeah, let me see. Let me get that out, and maybe that will work now. And Janine says that's why I'm planning to write derivative works based on Shakespeare instead of Tolkien. Good call. Good call. I totally think that's a good move. Very, very good. Yeah, always a good idea. But yeah, now let's see. I think the next Christmas song that is going to be public domain, we have to wait till about 2030. That's going to be Winter Wonderland. It was written in 1934, and that'll be public domain in 2030. So another 6 years. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer follows that in 2035. So that's over a decade away. We have some time. But once those start getting out there, you're going to hear them a lot more. And I'm sure you're probably going to see a lot of interesting projects based around Rudolph in in around a decade when that song goes public domain. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Never boring. Oh, and hey, Kurt, thanks for joining. Yeah, this is our last episode. And like I said, I don't have a Faire list, but I'll see about maybe doing a 7 reasons. We'll throw something together, I think. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, it's let's see. I've got a lot of projects, a lot of things to talk about. I mean, we can keep it short, I guess, to kind of have a relaxing last show for the season. But I don't know. One of the things I'm working on is I'm going to be getting a new doublet in the not too distant future. I'm working on that currently, and this one, it's okay. It never really fit as well as I'd hoped. I got kind of the wrong size, and I went with it. I should have changed sizes now that I think about it, but oh well. You live, you learn. I tried something, and it works. I mean, it's very loose fitting. It's okay, but it's it's not a great fit. The colors are very dark, and the blue on here that used to be blue. It faded. You can kind of see underneath. If you I don't even know if it still looks black, but yeah, it faded a bit. It was a more of a blue, and it's all just getting black now. So I don't know. It's fun. It's leather, but I need a change. And it's inspired me to work on a few projects. Like, I want to put a dual microphone setup inside my doublet, where I have 2 lav mics, one on each side right here, focused up. So if I turn my head this way, or I turn my head that way, the mic will pick it up regardless. That's the concept anyway. So it'll be a stereo sound input for me, and do it wireless, but have it all run through the doublet where it's completely hidden. There's the wireless system, everything. Just to make it as easy as possible. I've been looking at a lot of different ideas, and I think I found, I can use my wireless system in the short term, but I'm trying to come up with something a little better and smoother. And that's kind of on my list. Some really cool things to try to improve the sound system on that. I think it's going to be cool. Also come up with a better wireless system, because I hate the stuff that's out there. Even the really expensive stuff, I've never found it to work very well. So, yeah, Kurt, you're not wrong on that, unfortunately. Yeah, kind of. I guess that's kind of the way it's going to be. Yeah, it is. But I really just want to try to do something that's hidden, because I don't like those little ear mics that hang on everybody's face at Faire. To me, it's kind of like, why not just wear modern clothes at that point? Because the hypocrisy of going that route with trying to be authentic and then having electronic equipment everywhere, telling people that, hey, I don't want you to use I don't want you to ever use your cell phone in front of patrons while you have a mic on. I mean, I don't really get it. It's a concept that bothers me. So I'm not crazy about being plugged in and wired, although sometimes it is necessary. But if I am going to do it, I want it to be as simple and hidden as possible. Originally, I used to put a mic up in my hat facing down like they do on Broadway, and it worked all right, but I think I can do better. And surprisingly, it didn't work great on the recorder. I think it was too far back, and the recorder was out farther here, and the sound just didn't go back towards me on the recorder as much as it went out. So I think having it down, the mics down here, may help with that. I'm going to do some testing to see if it's good enough for the recorder. If it's not, then I'll have to get a separate mic strictly for the recorder, and that is something I'm looking at. I know, I haven't forgotten, and that is on my project too. It's on my, actually, like second or third on my list right now. So yeah, that will be happening in the next few days. So yes. And thanks, Kurt. I appreciate that. It's that's kind of the goal, to try to make it as hidden as possible, but also have a wireless setup. What I'm looking to do is to use the 6 gigahertz spectrum that is fairly new and wireless, and use that so you don't get interference, and just do a live stream essentially in full CD quality through the network, and just do a direct link network from one to another. It should work fine with pretty low latency. I think it'll be under 10 milliseconds, but I'm not quite sure how much under. It might not be much under, but I'm hoping it'll be closer to 5. We'll see. Because it's probably going to be about 2 milliseconds to convert it, and then 2 milliseconds to convert it back, and then maybe a millisecond or 2 for the transmission. So we'll see. It's going to be somewhere around there. Yeah, actually, what I was going to do was I was thinking like a pocket inside, like a breast pocket kind of thing, or maybe lower down, some pockets in there where inside the doublet where you can just put it in, or on the outside where you can take it out. I mean, something. Part of it is going to depend on the system I use, but that's the concept anyway. We'll see. And I'm still working out whether I want to make the guitar a part of that or just use a standard wireless setup for the guitar that I already have. I don't know. There's pros and cons to that. The pro of making it a part of the system is because of the way I'm doing it, and I'm essentially doing it through computers, I can do real-time effects. So I could do a compressor, EQ, reverb even. I mean, whatever I wanted real-time on any channel I want. So I can really tweak it a lot if I feel like if it's something I want to do. And I may not want to do it, but it's an interesting option. So yeah. That's funny, Lisa. Yeah. Glasses, I mean, once again, we're talking about practicality. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But at the same time, I think you can be creative. I mean, contacts exist. So if you can wear them, why not? I mean, I do wear contact lenses. But don't worry, this is still my eye color. I haven't changed them. But no, I do wear contact lenses. And that's part of it because I want to keep it as natural as I can. But at the same time, not everybody is comfortable wearing contact lenses. Some people can't for various reasons. So glasses, you do what you got to do, and I totally accept that. I think that makes perfect sense. So it's a tough question. It really is. It really is. Let's see other things. I thought about doing a new set. Making one of my sets per day being like songs we never hear anymore. I've been doing Faire long enough where, I've been performing Faire for a couple of decades now, and I've been going to Faire since I was a kid, so really about 30 years. It's kind of nuts. So, I've heard a lot of music over that time, and my older sister introduced me to a lot of it when I was young, but from various people, some of whom are not even with us anymore. And I thought, there are a lot of tunes that nobody plays for various reasons. And some of them were hilarious. Some of them were just beautiful. And I think it would be interesting to try to do a set that just has those songs that no one does anymore that I wish they did. So if you have any requests or any thoughts on, there's this song that I used to love at Faire, all these years ago and nobody does it anymore, please send it my way. I would be interested to hear what you're thinking, because I've started to put a list together, but I think it'd be really nice if I had a lot of different songs that would fit in there. I wouldn't want to make it the same every day if I could. But yeah. Lisa, you can't. Okay, I understand. Like I said, there's some people who can't. So you do what you have to do. Totally. Yeah, and dust. I remember Arizona. Yeah, there's definitely some dust over there on a windy day, and sand and everything, and it was tough. For some reason, I know people that had problems. My eyes, I mean, it wasn't pleasant, but I was okay. I mean, I definitely needed to take my contacts out at the end of the day and wash them thoroughly, but it was workable. So, okay. I think I've been lucky like that. Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, that's. Some people can, some people can't. It's a challenge. It really is. And not everybody's the same, so no judgment either way. I know plenty of performers who wear glasses out of necessity, so don't feel bad. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I think it's one of those things where, for me, if you try and it doesn't work out, okay. I mean, there's not really a destination when it comes to trying to be authentic or historical. It's just a goal that you constantly try to reach. You never will, but that's okay, because I don't want to exist and live my day exactly like they would have back then. It wouldn't have been fun for me. Wouldn't have been fun. I could admit that. Fair enough. Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't even say fallen from favor. I mean, maybe some of them are like that, but I would say it's more like songs that just don't get played. What sometimes happens is, like, there's some songs from Owen Fife. He was so iconic that his songs became the de facto and nobody else would touch them. They're just like, God, Owen does that. I don't want to touch that. I mean, other performers, not worth it. So they wouldn't do it. And there were several songs that pretty much only Owen played. And when he died, it was, which I guess, wow, about a decade ago now, nobody really took that up. I mean, maybe a few of his songs people tried, but several of them I never hear. So, yeah, I mean, I think there to be at least one or two Owen songs I would like to try. And so, yeah, I don't think they really fell out of favor. I think they just fell out of fashion. Just out of habit, I think, is probably a better way to put it. People still like the songs. It's just nobody does them. And nobody elected to out of, I think, habit, really. Yes, there were examples, but yeah, it's still not. It's a bit of a stretch, and if you're wearing, I mean, you could say the same thing about clothes. Well, they had clothes in the Middle Ages, so why don't I just wear a t-shirt and jeans? I mean, it's how much do you make it look like an old glasses? I mean, just so that's kind of the thing. I really think you just have to be practical with that. You know, you're not wrong. Sometimes you can wear glasses and they kind of act as eye guards a little bit. I mean, you don't necessarily need, protection from dangerous chemicals, but, I mean, just the occasional dust and rocks and things, depending on what you're doing, yeah, it can come in handy. So, yeah, I see your point. I mean, but you do want to go through them with caution. Probably get cheap glasses and keep replacing them and have several backups. I think that's probably the way to go. Yeah, I mean, you can get some inexpensive glasses. What is it, like I Buy Direct? I think some of those online that you can get your main glasses if you want, but get some inexpensive ones for as cheap as like $15-20 and get a few sets and have them as backups. I'm a huge fan of that. Yeah, I really did too, Lisa. I mean, he's just one example. There are plenty of people that either have left us or just retired. I mean, that happens a lot. Or maybe just backed off and only do one or two fairs now, and so you really don't hear those songs much anymore. Well, it's always an option, Janine. It's always an option. Yeah, yeah. Maybe worth looking into, see if you can get an inexpensive pair just for fun. Always fun, yes. But yeah, definitely interesting. Now, The holiday season, always weird. This is a strange time of year because it is, I don't know. I mean, Christmas, it's a lot less about religion than it used to be. And it's more about a seasonal time of year. I mean, some people get upset by that and they try to make a big deal and say, no, don't say happy holidays and all. I mean, okay. Not everybody's Christian, so you go with what works. But I mean, generally, it's really odd that it has changed a lot. The emphasis is more on. It's kind of like turned into a little bit more into what Thanksgiving was. It's less about the historical aspect and more about just getting together with family and friends and taking a break from work and all of that, for good or ill. I mean, I certainly know that you can make a deal, have a problem with that as a Christian, sure, but it's tough. I mean, I can see both sides to that, but I'm more just looking at how I perceive it in society. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting time, and it's changed so much. I was going over the history of Christmas a little bit, and I came across the fact that, it was, for a good time in Scotland, Christmas was illegal. Yeah, I know. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it was finally made a public holiday in Scotland in 1958. Before that, there was a time it was actually illegal and people went to jail for celebrating Christmas. This was in the 1600s. But yeah, it essentially was a reaction to the Protestant Reformation. And the Church of Scotland looked at Christmas as an extravagant celebration of, Catholicism. So, yeah, they suspended celebrating Christmas. People still tried to do it, so they got Parliament to outlaw it. Eventually, around 1712, they stopped, they backtracked and didn't make it illegal, but the church still frowned on it so much, nobody would even hang a wreath on their door. So, yeah, at least not until around the 1940s. And that was brought back by what? Mainly just because of England and America. I mean, all the influence in television and movies. And that change really brought a sense of the season back. So while there are some traditions that date back more from more Viking influence, such as the Yule log and kissing under the mistletoe, that they still kind of celebrate in Scotland. Most of the other traditions straight from the 20th century from America and England. So yeah, it's kind of an odd situation. Most people in Scotland now, they don't remember a time without Christmas. So for them, it's pretty universal. They don't even know that it was illegal at one time there. Not something they really teach in the history there. But no, it really was. So really crazy time. Really crazy. So it could be worse. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. I'm also working on a project of putting my recorder set together and teaching recorder classes at the conventions at Gen Con and Dragon Con. That's going to be something I try hard to put together for this coming up year. I've already talked to people and they seem interested, so we'll see if that works. That's going to be an interesting experiment, but there seems to be demand for it, for giving recorder classes, so we'll see. And I've also had some meetings with Alicia and Whitney and people, and just working on trying to figure out some things for Life's a Faire for the next year. And while this year has been, I'll be honest, I've been mostly on the road and been working my butt off, trying to get a lot of that done and just try to maintain Faire Life as much as I could. It's definitely time to start pushing forward with Life's a Faire and get things going. So that is in the works. So I'll be working on that for the next several weeks straight, and trying to get more going with that. But let's go ahead and jump into a into 7 reasons. Oh, Mel, I like that. Popcorn and action movies after weeks of baking. I totally understand. Well, don't forget the epitome of the action Christmas film. The Die Hard films. So enjoy those. Oh, well, that's great to hear, Janine. Hopefully I can put that together. That's what I'm going to be working on. So I will keep you updated. Yes, definitely. Okay, let's jump to 7 reasons here. Okay, see. Let's do 7 reasons. 7 reasons holiday songs are so popular. That's one I haven't done yet. So let's start with that. Planned already. Nice. Lord of the Rings. Okay, now we're going to start talking about our holiday favorite films. Feel free to throw those in there while I go through 7 reasons. Okay, 7 reasons holiday songs are so popular. Now, I mean, holiday songs, it's actually really hard to do a holiday song as a performer at Faire. I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to do it, because a majority of the year, nobody would buy it. Nobody would buy your CD. I mean, you're only going to sell them in the fall, and it depends on what fairs you do and where and when as to how lucrative that's going to be. It's usually better to spend your time working on a CD that will sell year-round. So not all groups do it. It's a bit of a niche market. But the hope is to try to make something iconic that people really like, and it becomes a thing. It's a tough door to get through, though. Usually you get those iconic Christmas songs maybe once a decade. Like in the 70s, it would be Paul McCartney's Wonderful Christmas Time. And in the 80s, of course, it would be Wham's Last Christmas. And then, of course, the 90s, well, that belongs to Mariah Carey with All I Want for Christmas Is You. So, but that was the song for each decade. And it really, yeah, I mean, you had a lot of songs in the 50s and 60s because that was sort of the heyday, 40s too, but yeah, it's really hard to break through there and make something iconic. So I don't know. I've thought about doing a holiday CD. We will see. Right. That's kind of it. Some people will buy it, but then save it for later in the year. But I think it's still not intuitive for people to do that. Yeah. That's trying to do some, just a few songs. Yeah. Very true. I mean, and some instruments do handle it a lot better than others. I mean, you get the bells, for instance. That's cast in bronze. Of course, that's always going to sound good. I mean, Vince Conway on the hammered dulcimer, or any of the other hammered dulcimer players that are very good, like Lady Victoria or any of those. Yeah, there are Christmas songs that just sound great on that. It has such a good character of sound. So it's really easy to do a solo piece with that. But generally, Christmas CDs, they really want to have lots of instruments and serious arrangements to work. So it's kind of tough. So anyway, let's see. 7 reasons holiday songs are so popular. Let's go with number 7. Short, repetitive lyrics. I mean, what you want a song that's really easy for all ages. Anybody can sing along. I mean, it's just an easy song to follow. It gets stuck in your head. It's very repetitive. It's kind of like a commercial jingle. Odd how that happened, right? Yeah. Not that Christmas is commercial at all. You're right about that, Janine. Yeah, it can be less annoying instrumental. I agree with that. But generally, people think of those special instrumental songs like Carol of the Bells or something. Number six. Number six reason why holiday songs are so popular. Standard holiday themes. I mean, you've got these standard concepts that most songs about the holidays follow. I mean, and they don't even have to make sense. I think a good example is A Christmas Song. That was, well, originally written by Mel Torme, but I mean, it just has random stuff in it, like chestnuts roasting, Jack Frost nipping, carolers, mistletoe. I mean, it doesn't really mean any. I mean, it's just talking about nostalgic stuff, and that's kind of it. And people love that song. It's because it has that element in there. I mean, the themes the most popular Christmas songs that are played these days, the main themes are like home, Santa, love, snow, of course, snow, parties, peace on earth, and surprisingly low on the list is religious themes. It's fairly low on there. A lot of the popular songs don't have to do with religious element, which is, I think, kind of what I was talking about, that it's that's not as much the focus as it used to be. Oh yeah. Well, now I know I'm an evil, insidious person, Mel. Sorry. They're all stuck in your head. Oh yeah. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. That's always a classic. It really is. And you're right. They're fun to sing with. Definitely. Let's see. Number five. They're in a major key in 4/4 at a steady tempo. I mean, for the most part. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, they're generally in a major key in 4/4 time at a steady tempo. What does that mean? It means that it's something that nobody's surprised by. Everybody's comfortable with and everybody can sing along to. By steady tempo, I mean around 110, 120 beats per minute. So, every second you get about 2 beats. So not too fast, not too slow. I think, All I Want for Christmas Is You is probably the exception in there. It hits about 150 beats per minute. At the fastest parts. Yeah, so it gets there, but it's also one of the more recent, so I get that. Yeah. So essentially what you're talking about is the songs are all positive and upbeat, which is kind of what you want for Christmas. Makes sense. You're not wrong, easier to play. Yeah, I mean, they're not all in the key of C, but they tend to gravitate there, I'm not gonna lie. Yes. Yeah, the ones with Latin choruses, yeah, I mean, there are some of those. Some people don't really like songs in foreign languages. It's weird. And Latin, it's a novelty, but it's still weird. I mean, some people like it, some don't. Thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you. Oh, right, yeah. You get those slower Christmas songs. There are a few, not many, that are a little slow, and they tend not to be the most popular because of that. Usually, a steady, upbeat tempo is what you want. So now you know. You're all becoming musicologists. Sorry about that, but I'm training you. Number four, sleigh bells. It is shocking how many of the most popular songs on the radio or streamed on Spotify or whatever include sleigh bells. Like almost 50%. If you look at the Billboard top Christmas songs for the last decade, about 50% of them include sleigh bells. So, stereotypical, yes. A bit of a bit lazy in planning and thought, maybe, but it works. So it's hard for me to it's hard to me to fault that. It might be a cheap tactic, but it works. I kind of feel a little bit like Will Ferrell and Christopher Walken in the old SNL skit, I've got a fever and I need more sleigh bell. Yeah, kind of like that. It's really weird, but it is popular. Sleigh bells makes a song Christmassy. No, it's a cheap, easy way to do it. Let's see. Number three. The number 3 reason is covers aren't sacrilege. I mean, in a lot of genres, you have these iconic songs that people will try to do a cover of, and a lot of fans will be like, how could you? Because it's never going to be as good as the original. It's just not going to happen. You're naive to try, and I like you less because of it. That's how fans respond. I mean, they get very judgy about covers of iconic songs. Some are cool with it, but it doesn't always work well. So it's a bit of a risk, shall we say. But with Christmas, it's kind of expected. I mean, certainly there are some iconic versions of Christmas songs, to be sure. But the weird thing is people like familiarity, but they also like surprises. So while people like to sing along, and it's important to have a Christmas song that they can sing along to, having it be a little different is a pleasant surprise for people. And it kind of breaks that make a song your own rule with pub songs. I mean, like when you have a sing-along song with pub songs, you don't want to change it too much, because if you do, people can't sing along, or they're less inclined to. It has to be familiar to them to a ridiculous level, especially for the non-musical types, so they can sing along. So you kind of get stuck in this arrangement that everybody knows. But with Christmas songs, it pays dividends to actually break from a traditional arrangement. People are fascinated by that. I think a really good example of that would probably be, Bruce Springsteen's version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I mean, compare that to like Fred Astaire's version from the old cartoon and, the stop motion animation. And it's, even the melody is fairly different. But the Bruce Springsteen version is very well thought of. And they both are. So it works. They can set side by side and nobody has an issue with it. It's kind of a fascinating dynamic. Very different. Very different. Yeah. And I totally get that. I think it's one of those where I agree with you that it shouldn't always be cheerful, but I think, having some be cheerful is okay. I mean, but people tend to gravitate towards cheer. Although, believe me, I can see a niche market, but a market for the depressing Christmas CD. I mean, yeah, I think there's definitely a market there. Yeah, familiar surprise boggles them. I know. I totally agree. Oh, and hello. And you're not wrong, Janine. I mean, one of the things, you were talking about Latin earlier. When I took Latin class, one of the first things in Latin I learned was the Latin lyrics to Christmas songs. And it was a way to kind of teach us Latin in a way that all of us would be familiar with. It's that comfort level, like what I talked about. Yep, Jingle Bell Rock, and very copyrighted. Very copyrighted, but yes, it is a classic. You're not wrong. I think that one's such a long song, it's tough. But it's public domain, so a lot of people do it. It is, it is, you'll notice, I mentioned the Hallmark movies before. I mean, you'll see a lot of these public domain songs be the themes for Hallmark movies because they don't have to pay for them. True. You do get that. They're more thought-provoking songs. Huh. I don't know if I'm familiar with that. I'll have to look that up, Harvey. Yeah, if you can find that for me, send me a link. I'd be curious. That sounds interesting. Okay, let's do with number 2. Number 2 is novelty songs, right? Right? The number 2 reason why holiday songs are so popular. I mean, you get those wackadoodle songs that at least won a decade, where it is just so off the wall, it's so silly, that everybody falls in love with it. So it's not about the sentiment, it's about the silliness of Christmas. And I love that. I think one of the early examples would probably be the 1950s song, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. Yes. Then I think in 1960 you had Dominic the Donkey. And of course the 70s song, late 70s, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. They still play that all the time. And then in the 90s, it was Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song that really took everybody by storm a bit. And then he revised it several times. So yeah, it really... Yep, there you go. You got that in there. Oh yes, Lisa, there's no one. Snoopy and the Red Baron. That was... I mean, it's not exactly a Christmas song, but it's loosely associated because of the Charlie Brown Christmas special. And it came out around that time. So, but yeah, I totally see your point. Oh wow, Thistlehair the Christmas Bear. Nice. Good examples. Good examples. Now there are some novelty songs that became ridiculous. I mean, a lot of those became popular too because they're novelty. But some novelty songs become popular on their own, not exactly because they're novelty. I think like some of the instrumental songs, like from Mannheim Steamrollers Christmas CDs in the 80s and 90s, really took over a bit for a while. And then, Feliz Navidad, Jose Feliciano. That came out in 1970 or so, and he was so worried that it would not get airplay in the U.S. I mean, it really just has a few English words and a few Spanish words, and that's it. Sorry. So yeah, it was really, it was a huge gamble, but I think it kind of paid off in the same way a song like Tequila did, where less is more, and it's just a fun song. So yeah, it really worked, and now Feliz Navidad is one of the most popular Christmas songs. So it can kind of pay off. Oh, yep. Alvin and the Chipmunks and Autumn of Christmas is My Two Front Teeth. Definitely. Oh, right. That is right. He did. You were right. I forgot about that. You're right. Totally. Good point. Thank you for the quality control, Kurt. It's appreciated. Yes, very good. But yeah. I mean, I think novelty songs are great, and believe me, I rely on them a lot. So yeah, always a lot of respect there. Number 1 reason why holiday songs are so popular: nostalgia. I mean, that's the obvious one, of course, because people... One of the things it surprises me more and more the more I do music is how it's really hard to get music to be iconic on its own. You normally have to have it associated with a moment to make it iconic. And there are exceptions, there definitely are, but generally it's the moment that makes a song as much as the song that makes the moment. It's a very odd symbiotic relationship, and that nostalgia is very important. A song that has built-in nostalgia that makes people remember things that they're very fond of is going to do better than a song that just talks about stuff that people can't relate to, even if it's interesting. So that's how Christmas works, at least Christmas music. Now that would be cool. Yeah, some other language. I mean, it's a bit of a novelty in that respect, because foreign language stuff doesn't always do well in the U.S. but it can. So it's all great to see. It's great to see. Well, there we go. The 7 reasons, Christmas edition, or holiday edition if you prefer. But here we go. So yeah. Oh, well, it's already 7:51, and I'm risking going longer than I ever have before, so I need to watch that. But yeah, I just want to wish you all happy holidays, and have a good new year. Definitely relax, enjoy those action films, enjoy that baking, enjoy what you're doing, and take a chance to relax for a little bit. Think about your year. Think about what you did that made you happy. Think about what you did that didn't, and try to correct for next year, so that next year is even better than this year, because you always want next year to be better. So do your best, and I will be back with Alicia and hopefully others, and we will keep Life's a Faire going, and Faire life as well, because, well, even when you're enjoying the holidays, it can still be a fair life. So take care, and I'll see you next year. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.